So I don't know if you guys have ever done any meditation, but when you meditate, you're able to come to conclusions that you wouldn't have figured out in decades, maybe not even in this lifetime. Problems that you have suddenly become easily solvable. Your IQ, your intelligence, your ability to brainstorm, your creativity just skyrockets. Normal guy with 100 IQ suddenly becomes a 200 IQ absolute genius when he meditates. Because what you're doing is through that meditation process, you're able to create synapse relationships that you've never been able to make before. Your brain cells connect differently, better, instead of just following the same old pathways and habits that your brain has been following. Your brain can be upgraded to fit the need of what you're trying to accomplish. If you've been stuck in the same financial situation, you've been stuck in the same relationship situation, same health situation, anything. You sit there and meditate, and suddenly the answer that should have been clear to you finally becomes clear to you, because you're able to bypass your bias, your prejudice, your locked in preconceived notions and your limitations, your mental limitations. You just bypass that because your brain operates at a different frequency. How do I describe that? It's like try and clap your hands. You can clap your hands right now, right? Unless you're holding the cell phone. That's your physical body being able to react quickly. Now go underwater and try and clap your hands. It's really difficult, isn't it? It's the same thing. Your brain cells are trying to connect. Your brain cells are trying to clap together and make associations and make new pathways so that you can solve problems in your life. Because that's what you're telling your brain to do. How do I fix this problem? How do I get out of this situation? How do I upgrade my life? But your brain cells also atrophy because you've been thinking the exact same way, so they can't clap together. It's like being underwater. You can't really make any progress. So you get out into the air, and now you become flexible, fluid. That's what meditation does. What's funny about meditation, though, how do you meditate? There's a million different meditations. There's as many different meditations as there are thoughts that you can have. What is meditation? It's just a concentrated effort of a mental effort. Okay, that's what the dictionary definition is, but do I chant? Do I do a mantra? Do I look at a picture? Do I focus on my breathing? None of that really matters as much as you actually doing the meditation with the intention of letting your mind come up with an answer. How do you do that? Just ask. In meditation, ask, how do I upgrade my life? How do I get out of this mess? How do I become healthy again? Whatever, to just ask the question over and over again. Relax your body so that your mind can actually get into a meditative state. Now, this is the funny part that I wanted to tell you from the beginning. When you meditate, you want to be hungry. Literally hungry. You want to fast. You want to be on a fast. Philosophically, the theory is that when you're fasting, you become yin. Yin means female, means accepting, absorbing. So you're going to absorb the universe's energy, you're going to absorb the universe's suggestions to you, you're going to absorb the thoughts that are buzzing around in the universe. Thoughts don't buzz around in the universe, thoughts are only in people's heads. No, thoughts buzz around in the universe. That's why telepathy is possible. And that's why radio connections are possible. That's why your cell phone is possible, because these radio waves, every single thought creates a wave. And if you can catch that wave and reinterpret that wave through a transducer and a receiver and all of a sudden, you figured out what someone's thinking. So yeah, thoughts are not just in your brain. Thoughts create radiation, and the radiations are waves that go everywhere. So every single thought you have just resonates, and that's why you think evil, weird, destructive thoughts, and you sit around someone and the other people around you get the creeps. That's why you sit around the guy that's an axe murderer or a child molester and suddenly you get the chills because of how his brain is sending out electromagnetic waves. It's super subtle compared to radio waves, obviously, but anyway, you want to fast. When you fast, you become yin. What does that mean? It means you become ready to absorb. You become hungry. And that hunger isn't just a physical hunger in the stomach. That hunger is your brain goes, holy shit, I'm going to starve to death. Holy shit, this guy is starving me to death. If I don't eat something, I'm going to die. And so your brain goes on high alert for how to. Your brain goes on how to fix something, how to do something, high alert. And then you're taking that same mode of energy, that high alert energy, and then giving it direction. It's like a pit bull or a Rottweiler that you've trained. You've made the Rottweiler really hungry, and then you just let it go, or the pit bull, let it go, and all of a sudden it'll bite what you tell it to bite. You're training your brain, your mind, like a drug detecting canine, a police dog. You know how they train these police dogs? Some police dogs are good at finding cocaine. Others are good at finding heroin. Others are good at finding fentanyl. You know how they do that? They get them addicted to it. These dogs are addicted to cocaine. They're addicted to fentanyl. They're addicted to heroin. They're addicted to whatever it is. They're addicted to it. They're addicted to the smell of dollars, money. They train them. Hey, you smell this money? Okay, now you find the money, I'm going to give you food. You find the money, I'm going to give you something to drink. And so you let them go in the airport, and suddenly they find the money so that they can get fed something to eat. That's how they're trained. Train your brain the same way. Make your body hungry so that when you're hungry, you become high alert. And when you're high alert for trying to find food, tell your brain, we're not looking for food here because the food's in the fridge. Use that hunger and tell your brain, we're going to look for a solution to my financial problems. We're going to look for my next big thing that breaks open my life and just totally transforms my life. I haven't driven a Lambo in my life. I haven't driven a Ferrari in my life. Let's do that. And give yourself the mechanical methods to do that. And while your synapses are on high alert, drop them in the REM state. I think theta waves are what you're looking for, is what neurologists call it. Do it by getting yourself to fast and keep asking the question, how do I make, and I'll give you a perfect question for this. How do I make $1 million in 7.5 days? Try it. You want to be really weirdly precise about this because your brain doesn't respond to how do I make $1 million? Your brain doesn't respond to that. Your brain responds to who, what, where, when, why. Those 5 questions. You have to give yourself that direction. How do I make $1 million? Who, what, when? In 7.5 days. You could do something like, I don't know, 234 hours or something. But the more specific you are, the more your brain is able to figure out, not just figure out, but actually tune into the buzzing frequencies around. And suddenly, when I made my first bunch of money, you know what I did? I asked that same question. I did the same thing. And I just sat there and I got a really brilliant idea. Why don't I go sit in the restaurants as close as possible to Qualcomm? You know what Qualcomm did? They're the first company that created wireless 3G. Back then it was 2G. Actually it was 1G. Before even EVDO it happened, 1xRTT. When they were creating that, I said, why don't I just go sit where the engineers of Qualcomm are eating lunch and see if I can eavesdrop? Is that corporate espionage? That's what I did. And then I started a website about wireless technology, and I became the world's biggest, #1 biggest blogger in the world on wireless technology. And that's how I made my first big bunch of money, because I started selling wireless products to everybody. But I would have never thought that. Who thinks to go sit in a restaurant where all the employees, my second big amount of money, guess what? Wireless was already big, so I decided to go sit in a restaurant where the Apple engineers were sitting. So I went up to Cupertino, California, and just sat there in, I think it was in El Torito's or something, or some other one of those restaurants that all the Apple engineers go to. I just overheard what they were talking about. 2 years later, they're gonna release this product, so I started another, this time it was YouTube. I started a YouTube about this new thing, and I'm not gonna tell you what it is. I'm not gonna tell you when it is, because you'll be able to know exactly what YouTube I started. And I was able to sell accessories for that and made tons of money on the internet selling accessories for that new Apple thing. Weird solutions, right? Really, that you wouldn't have ever thought of. That's super brilliant and super simple, but it works. Fast, and while you're fasting, keep asking yourself the question, how do I accomplish this by this time? Who, what, when? And the where part, and also the when part as to when you're going to be really, really powerful, that's at futureview.app. Go to futureview.app and you'll get the answer to where you have to go to be rich and powerful, and where your meditations are going to be way stronger. Funny thing is, I just saw on Twitter, which sparked this particular YouTube video, I just saw on Twitter a random tweet that relates to this about meditation and why you need to fast, and ask the question, how do I make $1 million in 134 hours? Whatever the number is. And that number you have to get from futureview.app. You go to futureview.app and it'll tell you the exact number that you have to ask your subconscious. Which is weird. You might think I can just randomly say, well, how do I get rich by the end of this year? It doesn't work. Your brain doesn't resonate. It's like end of this year, your brain already knows that your rhythmic cycles, your mental cycle, your financial cycle, your brain already knows that you're not going to be very strong then. So you're just asking yourself, how do I swim upriver in the rapids when there's been a torrential rainstorm? Your brain's like, you can't. Give up, right? That's what your brain tells you. So you want to find a date that your brain actually says, holy shit, how did you know that date was when I was going to be the strongest? And all the forces of the universe are going to align at my back, and the road is going to rise with me to meet me, and the winds are at my back, and all the angels are going to lift me up on my arms. That's Kalo Gibran and the Irish, the Irish blessing. But that date is at futureview.app. So, ironically, and this is the weird part, anecdotally, that I wanted to bring out about the power of fasting and meditating on one question. And that, remember that question, how do I make $10 million by this date? You have to form it in that question. You know where that was taught? One of the earliest places that was taught that everybody has access to was in the Bible. Matthew 17:21, I think it is, in the Bible. I'm not Christian, but it's there. It's also taught in the Buddhist sutras. It's also taught in Vedic scriptures. It's taught in the Quran. But with Christians, funny thing is, that scripture is missing. Go to your Bible and check if Matthew 17:21, I think it is there. It's missing. It just goes from Matthew 17:20 to 22. Matthew 17:20, Matthew 17:22. It's the weirdest thing. You know what that verse says? That verse says, anything can be accomplished by faith. You can accomplish anything. You can tell mountains to move, and by faith you can move those mountains. Except in this case. In this case, the only way you can fix that is by fasting and prayer, which is meditation. Because when you pray, it's not like some divine being that is so omnipotent and powerful actually listens to you and is your micro genie, is your miniature genie in the lamp that just is there to obey your commands. God's not there to listen to you and obey your commands. God's not there to deliver you gifts like Santa Claus. That's not what God is. What you're doing when you're praying is you're praying to your subconscious to just figure it the hell out. You're just commanding your subconscious to get out of your stupid, biased, prejudiced mental habits and just think clearly for a moment so that I can have the answer to how I can do X, Y, and Z, which is how I can make $10 million by 214 days. And you get that number of how many days to ask your brain to give your brain a deadline at futureview.app. Futureview.app. And that scripture telling you to fast and meditate is missing from all Bibles. Fascinating. Check it out, Matthew 17:21. And go to futureview.app to get the date that you have to subconsciously program into your brain. and tell it that's the deadline by which you're going to make me rich, powerful, find my soulmate, whatever it is. Just put a deadline into your subconscious meditations while you're meditating, while you're fasting.